Ladies and gentlemen, I am uploading this video on August 24th, 2026, and today I will cross 8 million subscribers on YouTube. Also, likely in the next couple of weeks or maybe month, this channel will hit 6 billion total views. And if you combine my other channels and all of the channels out there that take my content, that might pop up on your algorithm and you sit there and go, that's Gotham, but that's not his channel. We're likely talking about tens, if not 20s of billions of views around the world. And I want to say, every time that number gets bigger and bigger, it continues to blow my mind. So I would like to thank you. I would like to thank those of you that have been here for 5-6 years. I'd like to thank those of you that got into chess in the last week, maybe in the last day, literally, month, maybe a couple of months, from various collabs or places you've seen or it popping up on your algorithm. Those of you that just watch, write comments, even if you're trolling all the time. Those of you that have spent money on chess. Maybe you signed up for chess.com. Maybe you got Chessly, a book. You bought a baby book for someone. You pre-ordered that, that I've been promoting for months and months and months. And everybody in between. Guys, this is, it blows my mind. 6 years ago, I was an after-school chess teacher. That's it. I was just going around New York City. I was teaching chess. That was my career. I was building my school. And then pandemic and all sorts of different things happened. And now we're collaborating with professional athletes. We're being talked about in Magnus and Hikaru lie detector videos like 4 or 5 different times. Chess is everywhere. We're going to the Esports World Cup. So thank you. Tell me your chess journey in the comments. Let's get this video to become the most commented Gotham video ever. Just write something. Who are you? Where are you in the world? Where are you watching from? What part, what type of role chess has played in your life? Whether you're reconnecting with relatives or playing it in school or it's helping you through dark times. Let us know. Let me know. Read your fellow comments. Let's not have this comment section be dumb and full of memes and jokes. Let's connect through chess. That was one of the longer intros that I've given on the channel. By the way, shout out, pre-order the book. No, I'm just kidding. We're not gonna do that. Guys, to celebrate, don't click off just yet. I have come prepared with a present for all of you. I'm gonna show you a really idiotic game of chess that I played. So today we're gonna laugh at me. I played this game a couple of days ago. Very funny game. And it's the 8 million subscriber special. I just played a game sitting right here, right in this chair. I play chess every day. Bullet, blitz, doesn't really matter. I played a Turkish player. Don't know if this is like a 9-year-old prodigy or a 40-year-old man. But I played this person. And I managed to just play like the dumbest game imaginable. So sit back, relax, enjoy yourselves. I appreciate y'all truly very much. We're going to hit 10 million on this channel. If a friend or someone you know hasn't gotten into chess yet, get them into chess. I started with the move e4 and my opponent played the Sicilian defense. And one of the lines against the Sicilian that I've played for many years, I play everything, but is this move a3. And the idea of this move a3, those of you that have played this, I have a course on e4 as well. You might have studied this, and there are the videos. The main idea is this gambit. You play b4, and many people here, they take this pawn, and it's simply too dangerous because you go c3 here, here, and there's a trappy line here where you play knight to a3, knight b5, knight c7, and you get a really crushing position. Nowadays, everybody's learned what to do with black. They just put their bishop. And I play a reverse English. I'm basically playing a reverse English opening. And one of the ways to play this is when black puts the knight here, since the knight is not on f6, supporting h5, I like to push my pawn. So I have won a ridiculous number of games where people castle and just get a terrible position because I go h4, they go h5, and I go g4, and now white is already completely winning. Because after a pawn takes, you don't even have to take with the queen, although it's the best move. I just like to go h5. And they, if they go here, I go here, they play f5, I take, they take, I take, and the attack is absolutely crushing. We have removed every pawn in front of the king, and then we go and attack. But many people now have started to wait. So this is the problem with openings. I have gotten to a point where, people now have to write in different courses that they own how to not lose so quickly. So now my opponent allowed me to get my pawn to h5, but never actually castled. In fact, they probably should play h5, but we get this position from the opening. I'm actually very happy here, and my opponent immediately makes an inaccuracy. White is already clearly thrilled for this position, and b6 is just not a very good move. I play h6, and black here, I don't know if this was a mouse slip or intentional, but probably should take my knight, and it might have even been better for me to like develop my bishop or something. Taking my knight is the best move, but this allows me to play queen f3 and immediately develop. I don't do that. I go here, which is pretty stupid because my idea was to go e5, and my opponent damages my pawn structure and takes here. And what happens next is we have a massive trade and black is just better. Why is black better? How did that little transformation there, here, after takes, how is black just simply in a better position? Well, what happens here is the shattering of the pawns, so my pawn structure is very bad, and this resulting position of giving away this bishop for this knight leaves me with the dark squared bishop, but a dark squared bishop I can basically not use, because I can't really put it anywhere that it's going to be useful. Any move I make has a problem. If I go c4, I'm killing this bishop. So this is an issue. My king is bad. The bishop is going to come out and be very active. Black is going to long castle and attack me. So from the opening, things don't go well in the 8 million subscriber special game. Black goes bishop b7, very chill position. Now, white has to create chaos. A chapter of my last book, How to Win at Chess Master Level, not available yet. Not a promo, just letting you know. There is something called static and dynamic play. It's a master level concept. Dynamic play is when there's imbalance in the position. Kings, knights and bishops, rooks, knights and bishops, pawn structure. There's a ton of imbalance here. So this is not a, you know, what did I say? Did I say dynamics or statics? I might have said that completely wrong. I don't remember what I said. What I just described, the imbalances, that's dynamic elements in the position. Static elements in the position are much more stable. Like, this is a very static structure. You know, like black's structure is very static. The king's safety is static. A good knight outpost is a static advantage, right? Like that is a static weakness. Maybe I can get my knight in there. So these are the different things. Now, this is a very dynamic position, so it's going to call for very crazy play. So what do I do here, boys and girls? Why am I even covering this in today's video? Well, I decide to bring my king. Now, where's he going? Well, I'm anticipating a long castle anyway, right? So I would have had to go there. What I'm anticipating is I don't have an easy way to protect this pawn. So the king is like, all right, I'm going to do it myself. I don't know why my king is speaking in a terrible Australian accent, but that's how I imagine my king speaks. So black is going to move the knight and probably attack my pawn, and I'm going to go protect it. And that is exactly what happens. My king saddles up and goes king e2, king e3. Now, I have a piece of advice on this channel. Those of you that have watched me for a very long time, you know, especially when you're below 1,000, which is most of you, literally, it's like 80% of you. In a position where you are worse, and sometimes even in a position where you are just completely lost, one thing you can do is run your king. Because the worst thing that can happen is you're going to lose anyway. But the best case scenario, sometimes people don't checkmate you. You get your king over here, and then they either lose on time because they panic and they don't know how to get to you, or if you have another piece, like a rook, you get your king over here, you might actually win the game. Because what'll happen is your king will, like, create a checkmate, and their king is not going to get off the back rank. My opponent here plays this move c4. So this little plan by my opponent, knight a5 and c4, this is a static plan. It's a positional plan, because you've attacked my pawn, and now you've walled out my bishop. So my position is pretty terrible. It's a very bad position. And I go for a4. I'm trying to activate my dark squared bishop on the only diagonal that I can. Meanwhile, this little plan by black, targeting my center, black is now able to exploit their positional advantage with this very nice move, f5. And I have a major problem here. I just don't have enough development. I'm probably going to have to lose material. If I take this pawn, I activate the knight, but also black can go here first. And then they're going to activate the knight. So I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to lose a pawn. I need to use this moment to come back into the game. My opponent is going to take my pawn. I need to get some pieces out or else I'm just going to lose, which is why I go here. They now will have to spend a move taking my pawn, and then I will get some pieces out like my rook. It's kind of funny, but the best move here for black is bishop takes pawn. That's not very obvious. Pawn takes e4 looks much more natural, but when you realize that pawn takes e4 actually doubles the pawns, maybe you don't play that move. But of course, pawn takes e4, you're thinking the knight is going to come to f5, and bishop takes, then I can go to d5, but it's not f5. I mean, f5 is a really nice looking square, etc. In the game, my opponent goes here. It's a more forcing move, and I jump with my knight here, and clearly we can see why dynamic understanding in chess is important, because now I've come back into the game a little bit. But it's about to get a whole lot worse than that. My opponent has an option to play knight f5 or knight d5. I think they preferred knight to d5 because they target more things. So the knight is actually threatening many things, and if knight to d5 comes in, I'm gonna have to lose this pawn, right? I mean, I'm not gonna put my king into the middle, that would be really stupid. And knight f5, I go back, then I attack, maybe I bring my rook. So my opponent went here. But what my opponent failed to realize is that they are playing a degenerate. I am a degenerate. I am checked. Guys, I'm always looking for content. If I'm sitting in this chair playing chess, I'm not thinking what the best move is. The best move in the position is to tuck your tail between your legs and run backwards. That's not how Gotham operates. Gotham knows anything he touches with his fingers could turn into gold. Gotham runs the king directly into the center of the board like a lunatic. Like the Joker. I know I'm Batman, right? Gotham. So this is a major issue for black. Not for white. Not for white. I know what you're thinking. What are you talking about? Obviously, it's a major issue for white. You're losing. Yeah, my opponent doesn't know how to win the position. They just know probably the king should not be there, right? Also, it's not just about this. At this moment with black, you're like, wait a minute. Can I give him this check? Probably not, because he's going to take this pawn. And then he's going to take this pawn or this pawn. Okay, so we're not going to be able to give him that check. The king is actually going to zigzag into the middle of the board, which obviously seems extremely stupid, but also white is threatening this pawn and this pawn. So black's advantage of pawns is kind of fading. My opponent thinks for a little bit and goes long castle. And I'm in a lot of trouble because, I mean, anywhere the knight moves is an absolutely vicious check. If I take the pawn on e6, what my opponent would do here is simply move the rook. And I'm not getting out of this. I don't have a way to get out. If I go here now, there's rook e8, I'm pinned, it's very bad. But you know when they're not going to be able to move the rook up? If I fork. And when I jumped in here and I realized, like, they can't play rook d7 because then I would win a rook and I would be winning, I suddenly started thinking, you know, I might actually make a comeback. I actually don't think that this game is over. My opponent played knight to b4 check, which I thought was a very natural move. Apparently wrong. Apparently black here has to play the very difficult, in my opinion, pawn to e5. And I cannot take it with the king. I can't take it with the king. Because then I would walk directly back into this line of attack and I would lose, allegedly. So I need to take this with the knight or the pawn. And actually the pawn is better. And now black has to go knight to b4 check, king e3, knight c2, king e2, take my rook. And then I would go bishop g5, hitting both rooks still and the knight. And my pawn would be promoting. But white is still in a lot of trouble here because this bishop is out of the game and black has more material. So black has to go pawn to e5. My opponent doesn't do that. My opponent goes here. And the problem is that now the absolute degenerate playing with the white pieces goes king e5. First, I take the rook. Obviously, it was hanging. That was why I put my knight there. Boop. There is a king on e5. There is a king on e5. My opponent has lost a little bit of material. All of my pieces, my position looks like ruins. Have any of you like ever been to, I don't know, Sicily, Greece, some of these like historic places, right? With the structure still standing, even on the other side of the world. I'm not talking about European history, like some of those temples in like Indonesia, right? I imagine Malaysia, some other places have like these temples that are thousands of years old. That's what my position looks like. It looks like you just like, oh yeah, there was a battle in white's position 1,000 years ago and nobody touched it ever since. Archaeologists show up every now and then and kind of clean it up a little bit and make sure it doesn't have damage from, like, what is happening to white's position, right? My opponent notices they can go here, but probably is like, if I go there and the rook moves, what's next? Now, they still have to do that. So my opponent comes back with the knight giving me a check and is probably asking themselves, like, there is no way this moron is going to keep going forward, right? Yes, I am. I'm absolutely going to keep going forward. Why would I not go? Well, like, what's The only reason you don't go forward in a position like this is if the opponent has a queen. A queen is a dragon. It ends the battle instantly. There is no queen. A rook on his own is not doing anything. Plus, I'm not going this way. I'm going here. So my king took the queen and went boop, 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 zigzagging into the position like a running back. Shout out to the NFL. My opponent plays knight d5 check, and again, if I went to g7, honestly, I should have went forward. I should have done this. The position is equal. Folks, look at this position. It is 0, 0, 0. How? How is that possible? Well, it's 0 because there's no mate. There's no mate. If you go knight f6, my king is completely stuck, but suddenly I'm coming here. I'm threatening this. You don't have a way to checkmate me. King g7, I'm running out. You don't actually have a way. If you try to, like, surround me, I bring out my bishops. And these snipers are taking away important squares. Rook d1 is next. I'm going to go bishop f8 and bishop g7, by the way. That would actually result in a checkmate, which would be really nasty. But right now, there is no mate, because I run. I run. This is just, I should have went there. That would have made this game even cooler. I chickened out. I played the best move, but now I have an advantage. And black now has to bring back this knight and keep my bishop locked in. That was the knight's job. It's not doing its job anymore. My opponent goes rook f8, threatening rook f5 check and a bunch of other stuff, but now my bishop comes alive. My bishop has re-entered the game and I've won a pawn. Now at this point, the way you win this with white is actually very easy. It's very easy. I mean, it might not look easy, but it's easy. So you trade. You just make trades. When you're up material, especially if your king is weak, you trade down the material. You got to trade the bishop for the knight. You have to just make sure you're not rushing with a trade and kind of weakening your position. But my king runs again. So now my king has made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves. So my king has made around 33% of my moves at this point. And my opponent here goes g5. Now, the idea of g5 is very simple. If I take, I cede control of e5, and the knight comes in, and now I lose my bishop, and I probably go on to lose the game. But if I'm not an idiot, and to be clear, I'm a degenerate, not an idiot, I simply take the knight. Because now that knight is removed from the game, the rook goes over, and actually now I can take. I don't have a bishop to be forked anymore, but here I just simply bring my rook. Just like you are taught, boys and girls, 28 moves of the game have gone by. White has not touched these 3 pieces. They haven't moved. Not a single time. Just think about this. The king is here. Every other piece that's it's only pieces that are moving. Like, it's just pieces. The pieces that are out. My king runs around the board. Now my rook finally moves. My bishop finally moves. And my opponent keeps attacking, but I limit the movement of the knight. The black knight can't do anything, and I actually am just winning here. I'm going to take, I'm going to bring my rook, I'm going to go after this pawn, and somehow that pawn, my most advanced pawn of the entire game, who went there ages ago, is probably going to win me the game, because in the long run, I will win the h7 pawn, and I will win. And how do you guarantee a win in this position? You trade off the only powerful piece that black has. 2 rooks versus 1 rook. Usually better in many endgames. Rooks are very good endgame pieces, and you just have to prevent the counterplay, and the counterplay here is doubled pawns. So my opponent goes rook c5, I simply defend myself, rook f1, rook f7 is the plan. Black cannot create any counterplay, cannot move the knight whatsoever, cannot bring the bishop back. The game ends in a few moves, king d7, rook f1. I'm also up 40 seconds, which obviously helps. King here, I give a check, and now anywhere you move, the rook is coming to f7. And folks, it would not be any more fitting if the game didn't end this way. My opponent gave check. And once again, I probably should have went forward, even though this move is pointless because I can never go here. I step back here very gently to g3. And in this position, after spending 1/3 of the game running my king around the board, my opponent in this position resigned. They resigned because this pawn is not able to be defended, and after I take it, I will simply be making a queen very soon. Neither of these pawns will ever make it through. These pawns will take forever to get through. Black doesn't have enough time for counterplay. And frankly speaking, you gotta resign because you're probably tilted because your opponent ran the king around the entire game. This is the 8 million subscriber special. Of course, just like I said in the introduction, Thank you for staying to the end of this video. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, I don't know. Maybe somebody clicked on the sidebar. Something more appealing. You know, one of those videos that's like $1 food versus $1 million food or something like that. You know, that is a lot of YouTube nowadays. And I have respect for creators that are, you know, 5 to 25 times my size and they're putting out content like that. Guys, it's been 6 years of me just sitting here, hitting record, talking for 20, 30 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour, and then turning off the video. 99% of my content, I don't edit. I upload around 330 videos a year. So that's a pretty insane number. And then that's just long form. I'm talking about all the short form stuff. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I love chess. I have no plans to go anywhere for at least half a decade, at least. And then we'll see. Maybe, you know, God willing, we have kids or things get busy. I get burnt out. I don't know. But I still have things in the works. That's why I'm always sharing. I'm always sharing stuff that, you know, it's all over the room that I'm working on. There's cool events that go on. Sometimes YouTube sends me a creator gift. You know, I get a Gotham jersey from an event that I go to. This is all fan-made stuff. I have a box of all the stuff that fans have given me over the years, whether it's letter. By the way, there's ducks. That's a 3D printed rook from last year's tour. Those are ducks. Somebody gave me Hikaru Kwakamura. I'm not even joking. That was one of the ducks. And the other one is Magnus Quaxon. Was a young fan last year on the Europe tour. And many, many more. All right? Like all these different things from everywhere that I've been. Very humbling. All right? Share your chess stories in the comments. Let's read and be inspired by each other. And we will continue being here, making content for many years to come. Hopefully get a diamond button from YouTube in a couple of years. Maybe just a year. Maybe like end of next year. Yeah. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.